Hey, welcome back to the table. Okay, so I have the next mission set up so you can see how that's going to look. We got a new type of ship. Actually, I have a few cards I forgot to set up, but we got a lot to do between the end of last mission until this happens. In fact, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So let's get rolling here. So for the success, and I'm going to try to put the camera back a little bit and see if we can get you in here. I don't want to hit the table. Here we go. The last Ronin ship explodes into fragments and you can finally catch your breath. The skirmish is a bit far from Medalia for an invasion force. Unfortunately, a quick check of your scanners reveals that the assault has been catastrophically successful so far. UIA ships have begun to desperately flee from Medalia. Craft from all over the galaxy make for jump points heading to the safety of their home systems. Hopefully the more you save today, the more will fight back another day. You take up a holding position near the Sparrow. The sheer volume of enemies around Medalia makes that pit in your stomach grow even heavier. But there is something that gives you hope. It seems that the enemy ships are pulling back. So we get a reward here. Everybody gets a pilot skill. Everybody's going to get 15 credits because we did Abyss level difficulty. Everybody gets a ship upgrade. Then each pilot may purchase a weapon from cards 1 through 9 for a 5 credit. So basically you get a 5 credit discount. Then we're going to go to scenario 4. So, and then, in case you were curious, if we ever did fail, you could get this reward over here. There's a lot to do here. So we're going to go through this systematically, and I'm going to set this off to the side so I can have both hands available again. So like I was saying, everybody's going to get 15 credits. So I'm going to just give out the money real quick to everybody. So currently we're holding 25 credits. I'm using the brass money in case some of you are wondering where it came from, or maybe you recognize it. Let's see, and here. So everybody's sitting on 25 credits. Now, if you're playing normal mode, you'll have 15. This extra 10 credits is because we're playing the harder mode. And this is going to be very handy, by the way, to have the extra credits like that. It is going to make this harder mode worth it. Okay, then everybody gets a pilot skill. This can take a while. So let's start with JB. First of all, not only do they get a pilot skill, they also get a ship upgrade. So, I'm knocking everything over. So first things first, with the ship upgrade, you basically just fill this in. And so his Argonaut ship now has the level 1 ship ability. So I'm going to go to JB here. Here's his cards. And so this ability is now unlocked. So JB now has polarized armor, which has 2 supply. After being attacked, he can ignore 1 damage of the attack. So given the fact that they're doing 7 damage a pop, that's not very helpful. However, you may have noticed that they have exactly 8 hit points, and these guys do exactly 8 damage, and then it's not enough. If we can block just 1 damage, we may be able to just take the hit, and then that saves us from losing a system. But anyway, don't complain about it. It's as far as ship upgrades go, it's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, he can block 1 damage, and that might come in handy. He also gets a pilot skill, which is going to be one of these. And bear in mind that he's only going to get to fill in half of one. So it takes 2 pilot skills before you've actually unlocked the whole thing. So this goes back to my Gloomhaven days. And if you've watched my Gloomhaven playthrough, these combat decks, these modifier decks, to me, these are where your liquid gold are. So when you draw these cards, right, that is awful. And then if you have advantage, it's like, okay, well, at least I did 0. You want to get rid of the awful, and you want to move towards something where your deck is more beneficial to you. So I like stealth. I like all these little do gadgets. Like this one here will recharge your shield by 1. That card will go in your deck, and when you draw it, it'll say recharge your shield by 1, and it's going to be what's called a roller, meaning you get to draw a next card. So then this gets combined with whatever the next card is. So you get the benefit of both cards. Let me show you real quick what a roller looks like. So they have this little symbol here. That's called a roller. So this particular card here would repair 1 hull strength. So when you draw it, let's say you get this, this by itself isn't the complete action. You then draw the next card that goes with it. So now, if you take this -1, you're also repairing 1 hull. So you get both of these. And that's what a roller is. You just keep drawing the next card and next card. And if you had advantage, this would be one option, and this would be another option. So now you're choosing either to take the 0 or you're choosing to take both of those. And if this came in a different order, so let's say you drew this one first, and then you drew this one second, then of course this one would be bundled there. So I hope that makes sense. For those of you who played Gloomhaven, this is a no-brainer. But again, I just tried to make sure I explain it to everybody. Okay, so almost every one of these are rollers. This here is a ship upgrade, so that means we would get another upgrade to our ship. You probably want a few of these, but for sure you're getting one. If you get this high in the tree, you have to take one. So I tend to skip the ship upgrades when I'm going up the tree. Now, over here is that repair hull card that we were just looking at. And you know that's a roller. This is a stun card. And then you can see you're actually going to get 2 of them. So 2 of them will be shuffled into your deck. That's really good. But here's where the pudding is. This is where the rubber hits the road. For me, changing the modifier deck, like I was hinting at, is the most important thing. And what's interesting about Enver, I never played the JB character here. My son had this one. The interesting part about the JB character is there's not a lot of modifications to the deck. Like you can see there's one here, but there's a whole bunch here, here, and then one of these. So I'm a fan of getting rid of your negatives. That's more important than adding positives. Positives are great, don't get me wrong, but the negatives, when they come, they blow. So you have 1 -2 in your deck. You have, I think, 4 -1s, so this would get rid of half of them. And we can go through the deck to see. I don't even remember what the distribution is. So there's 1. There you go. So there's 1 -2. You got your miss and times 2. You got 1 plus 2. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minus 1s. And then probably 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. So that makes up a deck. So if you get rid of 2 of those -1s, that's what? That's 40% of the -1s are gone. And then if you get rid of the -2, that's 100% of the -2s gone. And it almost doesn't matter if you added +1s or anything like that, because getting rid of the -1s increases your chances you're going to get the more positive ones. So anyways, that's how my mind works. The other things are nice. They're situational. Like being able to stun an enemy could be fantastic if you draw that stun card, right? But you don't have control over when you're going to draw that stun card. And that's the problem I have with it. So I'd rather get rid of the -1s because, then I don't have control over when I draw those either. But if they're out of the deck, then I've completely controlled that they're gone. I guess that's where my mind is. Okay, so I just finished shuffling this deck up quite a bit. So as you probably guessed, I'm going to try to go up this tree a bit. Now, you can go up this tree and then stop and then start going up a different tree. You don't have to to go up all the way to the top. But with that being said, I really like this one and this one for the reasons I just explained. This one's not a bad one. Getting rid of a 0 could be detrimental, because as long as these negatives are still in your deck, getting rid of a 0 actually increases the chance that you're going to get a negative. So you got to be careful about the 0 manipulation ones. We might even be better off going this way and leave that 0 in there. It's really, it's a tough call. 0s to me are not bad, because it means you're going to do exactly the damage that you thought you would, and most of the time, that's what you want to do. I mean, maybe you're hoping for a plus, but... Now, with this being said, these 2 stuns are stunning. So we do want to... I really do want to get those in his deck, but like I said, we'd have to go up quite a bit to get there. This one is pretty weak. That one, not exciting. I would actually almost prefer this. The hack. Hack is super good. The hack is like the curse in Gloomhaven. You put a miss in the enemy deck. And yes, every time you draw one of these hack cards, a miss goes into the enemy deck. It's awesome. This is also awesome. This is a resupply. So when you draw that, you get to move up a supply 1 point. So that burst fire that we're constantly needing another charge of, sign me up. We're going to go ahead and fill that in. And JB is halfway there. He's got some Bon Jovi going on. He's halfway there. We're living on a prayer. All right? So we're going to go up this path. We're going to at least get to this level before we consider going a different direction. All right. So if he gets one more, we'll be able to add that card to his deck. We're not adding any card to his deck this round. Okay. Enver's done. Let's see if we can... We got Josh right in front of us here, so let's look at Josh. Josh is our stunner guy, so you can see he's got a nice stun one here. Between these two, this is a no-brainer. I would take that one in a million times. I would never take this over that. This one over here is a hull breach, and that's a push. So that's some interesting ones. There's another stun card. So we sort of picked the right guy, right, to do stun. He's got stun abilities, and he has stun cards. Now, with that being said, if you look at this, which one am I taking? You guys can probably guess. Actually, one of the ones that looks very attractive, actually, is this one right here. It'd be nice to get a resupply. But I think you know which one I'm going to do. We're going to go up the middle with this guy, too. So we do get the level 1 ability. Everybody gets that. And then we're going to go ahead and fill in half of these +1s. And here you can see we can get rid of 1 - 1 and 1 - 2. Not quite as good as Enver or JB. This is actually a lot weaker than JB. But I actually think that if you go up these other paths, he's got some better abilities here. So this is actually, yes, we need to manipulate the combat deck, but these other abilities actually look really good. And then, yeah, you do want to get to the top. And these ones, you're probably not feeling it yet, but these are going to be critically important when we land on planets. That's the only time they're helpful, but gosh darn it, when you're on a planet, you need them. So choosing between the ship upgrade or that is a very interesting conundrum. But here's one thing I got to say. You do get new pilots later in the game, so you may be benching this pilot. And so you may want to take the ship upgrade because the ships can be traded. The ship doesn't belong to Josh. So yes, he unlocked this level 1 ship ability, but he can give this ship to somebody else someday, and they still have the level 1 ship ability unlocked. Because he unlocked it, it's unlocked for everybody. It's not just Josh gets that ship ability. So this ship ability is not tied to the name. It's a really weird mechanic, and it can confuse you if you sit down and think about it, but just don't think about it. That's all you have to do. Just don't think about it. The ship abilities get unlocked, and they stay permanently unlocked. So if he ever gets a second ship, and you're planning on replacing him with whatever new character you unlocked, you may want to just go ahead and unlock a ship ability and screw the planet ability, because the new characters are going to be the ones that you're going to use on the planets anyways. And just to give you some perspective, I apologize, I'm knocking crap over and Can't have nice things, can I? So Jaredon, which is the Josh character, you can see has 2 strength and 2 intelligence and a 0/0, okay? With 7 health. And if you start looking at the other character, all the other characters are very similar. Starla is a 1/1/1/1. Everybody else is going to be a 2 of one thing and then, maybe a 1/1/1 or whatever. You can see that Dusty is 3 2s. And none of the starting characters are going to be 3 2s. None. And I'm looking, so I'll just say them right now. Starla is 1/1/1/1. This is 2020, 2020. We have 1201 on JB. And then Andrew is 0220. So just to give you an idea of the starting guys. So here, 0222 is already better than all 4 of us, right? So Dusty is better. His health is low, though. But here you got K2, whose health is just as good. And look at that comparison. It's basically a perfect replacement for Jaredon, right? K2 has the exact same skills that Jaredon has, but everything is better. It's as good or better, right? So you may be looking at, I don't know when K2 gets unlocked. In fact, I can tell you that by Act 2, at least the start of Act 2, K2 is not unlocked. I know who K2 is, but I won't spoil that for you yet. It is a character I have experienced in the story, but you'll find out. Anyways, it's very interesting because the whole K2 concept. But yeah, there you go. That would be a perfect upgrade. So the whole reason I'm bringing this up is if Jaredon gets all the way up to the top, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe instead you want to just upgrade a ship, especially if it's one of the newer ships, right? Get that upgraded. So that way when you get K2, you're going to replace Jaredon anyways, and then you can give K2 the upgraded ship. That's where I'm going with this, is that you'll grab K2. K2 has his own sheet that has all these upgrades on it, and then you'll have to basically start over. Okay, so keep going here. You can see this is a 3110, growled. Then you have a 0231. So these are the 4 pilots that you can unlock. I'm just in full disclosure, this is the only pilot I've unlocked, is Dusty. And I'm pretty darn sure that you're unlocking one or the other in this situation. I don't know about these 2. Don't know as much about those 2, but I think this one is one or the other. So I think we have to choose. Are we going to unlock this one or that one? And of course, Josh, my son, and I unlocked this one. So anyways, I don't want to belabor it, but there we go. We got Josh's upgrade in, and then let's look at his ship ability. So remember, this is the stun ship, but now Josh has the ability to slow an enemy or radar jam them 3 times. So that's a really good ability. It can be, at least. And so being able to slow an enemy is perfecto, because if you slow an enemy, they can't move. So unless they can pew really far away, you can force them so they can't move, and that way they get to rotate and all that jazz, but if they can't move closer to you, then they're not going to be able to get behind you to do damage or whatever. But you do have to be close enough to them to put it on them. Okay, let's keep going. Next up is Andrew. So Andrew has a stealth. This is a hull breach, resupply, repair hull. This is a push, so it'll push a ship away from him. This is reduce 1 stress. That's a new one. This is slow, which means that they can't move, which is exactly the ability that just got unlocked. There's a stun for Andrew. Target lock, pierce armor. So this, you basically you bypass the you bypass shields, is what I'm trying to say. And if you're going by my methodology, we're going to go up this track here, which is, it's not bad. This one is a free rotate. So when you draw the card, you can actually rotate the ship. Because remember, there's only one rotate action that you have. And so that could be a pain in the butt. But drawing the card and getting the rotate it's awkward. It's totally awkward. So, because you probably already rotated enough to be able to do the attack. But it does let you rotate after the attack and, maybe position yourself for running away or whatever. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This is not super duper nice, but what we want to do is we want to get to these. So we're going to add some +1s, and then here we're going to get rid of 2 zeros. Yeah, this is actually, yeah, I replaced Violet Ray whenever I played my game. Dusty replaced Violet Ray, and I think you're starting to see why. I was not a big fan of Violet Ray. But this ship ability, I don't remember what it is, but I think it's pretty good. So let's go check out his ability. Oh, I gotta reach across the desk here. Oh yeah, he's got target lock. And look at that, it's 4 spaces away. That's big, very big, huge. All right, and I'm knocking over here, let me put this somewhere where I can lean across the table and not bump into that. All right, so his ability's there. We've got 2 charges on it. Last but not least, we have Starla. And Starla has targeting computers, so she can target 1 extra enemy with whatever attack she's doing. So whatever attack pattern she has, she can add 1 enemy to it. So right now she has long shot. So if there was 2 enemies in this, she could hit both enemies instead of just 1. So it's an interesting one. Not super great, I think, because it's very situational. But being able to hit 2 enemies is always better than 1. What you really want to do is you want to make sure that she has some high damage attacks. Because that, of course, makes it so it's easier to, apply that. You don't want to be applying that to an attack that just does 1 damage. All right, Starla here. I do remember liking Starla. Starla got really good for me. This is good. But I don't go up the middle with her. I went up this path here because I wanted to get rid of my negatives. But you can see she's got this path here that gets you all kinds of modifier upgrades. And then over here, she's got even more where you can add some +1s and +2s. So she gets pretty good over time. I think I did, I think, take her all the way to the top, and I grabbed her strength. If I remember correctly. But we're going to go ahead and go for this one here. And there she is, halfway, and her Merkava. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the Merkava level 2 ship ability is amazing. It's amazing. I absolutely love the Merkava. So my favorite ship. If you're ever playing with other people, just take the Merkava. Don't take the stun, though. Stun, the EMP blast and Merkava don't go well together. Okay, each pilot may purchase 1 weapon upgrade 1 through 9 for a 5 credit discount. All right, let's do that. So we got our weapon upgrades here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I know I have the next mission set up, but we're going to have to, I'm going to move our guys out of the way. We can always reposition them later. Let's get this done. So these guys should be familiar. We got the Proton Blast. That's familiar. We have the Long Shot. So I'm going to put these more away from the camera. The Burst Fire, and this should be the EMP Blast. So these are the original 4. Every character has 1. Which is why we have 1 copy of each remaining. We could buy, for example, you can equip, I think you can equip 2 of the same. I have to check the rules. I thought there was a rule that you couldn't. You might not be able to. My advice is don't. Having 2 of the same thing makes no sense. Because if you can't hit a target with 1 of them, you want to be able to have the other one complement what you're doing. Also, I will tell you that, like, these take 2 dice. You want your second weapon to only take 1 die. because you only roll 4 dice. So if you have 2 dice on the first weapon and 2 dice on the second weapon, you're never going to be in a situation where you're using both weapons unless you have that perfect scenario where you don't need to move, you don't need to rotate, and you can just fire. I mean, that's really hard to pull off. So you want 2 and 1 with your second weapon. That way, you can actually get both attacks in one turn. Ideally. I'm not saying that you're going to pull it off right away, but that's what should be what you're shooting for. Okay, these are the new ones now. These are going to be the juicier ones. So that's why I'm saying we're going to push these a little further away. They're very nice weapons. Don't get me wrong. They got us through the first 2 missions, but this is going to be better. Just slightly better. Don't get too excited. Okay, here's the first one, Spike Pulse. I love Spike Pulse. Okay, what Spike Pulse does is it sucks your enemy closer to you. So it sucks them 1 closer. The range is 3, and it does 2 damage to 2 targets. So the damage is resolved first, and then they get sucked in 1 space. Okay, so what you do is obviously it's a radius of 3, and basically you resolve 2 damage to 2 different targets, and then they get sucked 1 space closer to you. Okay, Spike Pulse, as you'll notice, is 1 die, and that's the part where I'm telling you it's an exciting upgrade. And the perfect weapon that goes with it is Burst Fire, because Burst Fire requires them to be super close to you. So you could be sitting here with an enemy that's 1, 2, 3 spaces away, and then another one over here that's 2 spaces away, and you use Burst Spike Pulse. You do 2 damage, and then you suck them both in, boop, boop, and now they're both within range for this, and oh, look at this. This hits 2 targets as well for 3 damage. So now the 2 of them together just did 5 damage, and you did it with 3 dice. And one of them's allowed to be a move. So this is Spike Pulse. There's 2 of them. And I can already tell you, we're buying it. JB is buying it. It costs 20. We're going to spend 15. So here's 15 of JB's hard-earned money. He is buying Spike Pulse. He's not passing go. He's not collecting $200. He is going to get the magic. That's where the magic happens, is that Spike Pulse. It is a great upgrade for JB. Now, it requires heavy. And it just so happens that JB's ship is an assault and heavy. Ding, 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 ding. So we got it all figured out. All right, there we go. There's number 5. Number 6, Hull Blast. Okay. This is another one of those ones that does a radius thing, which is good. It hits for just 1 damage, and it'll apply hull breach. So the thing with this is it's very low damage. If you put 2 dice in it, it will hit 2 targets. It's only the research that can use it. If you damage the shield, this does not happen, right? So this is only good for once you hit you got the shields depleted, then you hit the hull, and then the hull will have hull breach. So that means every time the enemy starts their turn, they take 1 damage. Just 1. And it's a hull damage. It's not a shield damage. So even if they still have 10 shields, they could theoretically die. The biggest issue I have with Hull Blast is, yeah, it only does 1 damage. We get that. But the hull breach is very weak because these enemies are going to have like 16 health. And I'm talking just hull strength, not even the shields. And what good is 1 damage? It can mean the difference, I guess, but when you hull breach somebody and they're ticking down 1 by 1 by 1, it takes an awful lot of turns for them to die. And so you end up getting impatient and you have to kill them some other way. But anyways, this is for research ships, and that is available. Number 7, there's 2 of them. Targeted Bolt. This is a nice one. It's got the single die requirement. Check. It does 2 damage, which is not bad. And it's got 3 supply, and then it actually does 3 damage if you use a stress die instead. It is only for assault ships, which would be JB's ship. And the other one is Starla, has a command and assault. So Starla can take this. By the way, the research can be taken by Josh and Andrew. They could take these ones. The targeted bolt, it has an interesting pattern. It will apply target lock to whoever you hit. It only hits one target, but it'll target lock them. So after you do a target bolt attack, then everybody else who attacks that same target will have advantage. You don't have advantage. The target lock applies after your attack. So your initial attack there may not have advantage, but once you finish your attack, it'll have target lock, and then everybody else who attacks it will. So this is like a go first type of weapon. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this for Starla. It's very eerily similar to her long shot, but the one thing that complements well is well, first of all, it's one single die. That's one complement. The other one is, if you remember, long shot skips the first spot and then it hits the next 4. Well, this one, Starla can hit somebody who got close to her. And it also has the little bit on the sides. It's not the best in the world, but it's a good weapon. And for 1 die, 2 damage for 1 die, that's way better than a basic attack. Because it's double. It's actually double what you get for a basic attack. So very likely going to buy that for Starla. Okay, number 8. Interrupt beam. This is a weird one. Okay, only Starla can take this one, which is why I told you that Starla might get that one. This one is like a really weird wide attack, and what it does is it slows the enemy. So she has to be really close to them, and it makes them so they can't move. But it does 3 damage. That's what's really nice about it. That's even better damage than this. Obviously, you need a stress die. If you have a stress die, this becomes 3 damage. But it's really weird. Like, how do you get yourself in position to even do this? But, you know, first of all, it complements the long shot, because remember, this spot right here can't be hit with long shot. So you can handle anybody who's close to you. And then if you're not rotated all the way, you can, you know, it's got a really wide arc. It does slow them, like I said, and 3 damage is pretty darn good. In fact, it's more than the 2 damage from the targeted bolt. I guess the only thing I can say is targeted bolt at least puts target lock on them, so then everybody else can have advantage. So that's a tough choice for Starla. Starla has to choose this one or this one. Or she can choose one of these, but like I said, we want to go down to 1 die. And both of these satisfy the 1 die requirement. So very weird angle though. And then last but not least is the Scout one, Propelled Shot. And what this one is it's a radial attack. It hits 1 target for 2 damage, and it doesn't even require a die. You saw that correctly. There's no dice requirement. It just literally just uses supply cubes. It's an automatic attack. But it only works on scout ships, or otherwise I'd get that for everybody. So the only one who can get that is Andrew, and I'm very likely going to get that for Andrew. In fact, I will. So that costs 15 for him. So I'm going to take that from him right now, and he's going to get Propelled Shot with a charge of 3. Now, you still draw a modifier deck for it. I don't know why, but like the group I was with got really confused. They kept thinking that since you don't play a die for that one, they thought that it just automatically did damage. No, you still draw a modifier card and all that stuff. It's just you don't have to place a die to do it. And remember, because it takes 2 dice to go into Cloak, Propelled Shot is perfect because you can go into Cloak and use Propelled Shot to still get a shot off before you do that. Okay, I can't use this at all because there's nobody else who has a scout ship. So that's going back. Let's see. The only people left are Josh, who has the EMP. He has a command and a research. So he could do the hull blast. He already has the EMP blast, so I don't think he wants to do a hull blast and an EMP blast. That means he has just a crap ton of attacks that only do 1 damage. Plus, this takes 2 dice. In fact, actually, I think Josh he's going to take the interrupt beam because he does have a command ship. And so he's got the EMP blast, but then he can do this. So now Josh is finally entering the world of doing real damage to people. And he can slow them. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to give him Interrupt Beam. And that will be 15 credits. So let's take that away from him. And normally, in a normal game, if you'll notice, it's all working out that everybody's going to have 10 credits left. But in a normal game, they would have 0 because we got 10 extra credits because we've been playing on Abyss difficulty. So you would be basically back to 0. Now, since Josh grabbed Interrupt Beam, I am going to grab this one for Starla. I'm a little leery about it. I actually think maybe I should get 2 of these. But we're going to go ahead and get this one for Starla. I think my logic being that... yeah, because let's say I do have something lined up for one of those long shots. I could use this one first and then target it. And then the long shot will have advantage. So they do play on each other pretty nicely. And I also like to have variety of attacks. I don't want all my attacks doing the slow effect because some ships really are immune to that. So we'll go ahead and do this one. And of course, that'll cost her 15 as well. And done. All right, so I know that took a lot of time, but if you were to ask me, like, Jeff, why do you like this game so much? This is the phase of the game where, to me, it's a lot of fun. I like the in-between. I like the decisions I'm making. I like looking at, I took this one, by the way, in my playthrough. I didn't like it. That's why you're seeing me ignore it now. That spike pulse is amazing. If I had more heavy ships, I would use it. I would have bought 2 of these. So, in fact, the Invictus was a heavy ship. So had we started the game with the Invictus, we could have gotten another spike pulse. But there we go. All right, so we did all that. Now it's telling us to go to Scenario 4. And Scenario 4... every scenario is a battle. This one is just a giant story. So let me put this down. Maybe lift it up a little for you here. Okay, it takes only a short amount of time for all the remaining enemy fighters to retreat to the capital ship. To find yourself in a moment of relative stillness, it won't last long, but it's a good time to assess this strange-looking flagship. It's an unusual shape, more like a floating island than a classic cruiser design. While you watch, it begins to slowly spin in place. A few remaining UIA ships taking their chance to flee from the field of battle. Where they're heading doesn't matter. Anywhere is better than here. Sol's voice breaks the silence. Hold your positions, cadet. That is a Rathan ship. We're attempting to initiate contact with the... And then a giant flash. Either Sol was cut off or he's staring open-mouthed at what is happening. The large ship bursts with light and fury. Colorful shields radiate across its surface. The glow is pulsing heavily from deep within the vessel. It seems as if something is building from deep inside. Without warning, a blast erupts from the ship, penetrating the surface of the planet below. The continuous stream of red light builds in intensity until in an awful moment, it punches through the crust of Medelia itself. This is Oberon all over again. What happens next is never forgotten by anyone present, but rarely spoken of. A wave of shock passes through everyone watching. The only voice you hear is a cry of anguish over the radio that, despite the static, is recognizable as Captain Soma. Medelia shifts in space, going in different directions. For a split second, the planet looks like an optical illusion or an oversized puzzle not fitting together. Then a colossal crack appears. It is followed by more, fracturing across entire continents. Giant chunks of the planet begin to fall away from the rest of the sphere like a sandcastle losing to the tide. Everything begins to drift from itself. On what remains of the surface, gravity appears to be working in reverse. Entire cities float away. The atmosphere disperses into space, and hot magma from deep within the planet starts to harden as it is exposed to a new cold reality. The beam abruptly stops. The giant weapon appears to be drained. The death blow to Medelia has emptied its reserves of power. Only emptiness remains. Medelia is gone. You don't know how long you've stared at the destruction before your proximity alarms scream into life. It alerts you to a vast angular piece of Medalia's crust floating towards you. You have to get moving. One more look in the direction of the flagship reveals enemy fighters pouring from it. They appear to be heading towards you. A quick scan shows an enormous amount of debris. You try not to focus on the fact that it's the remains of Medalia. The shock of the moment keeps you disassociated, allowing you to only focus on what is happening here and now. There's a possibility you could hide amongst the Medalia's fragment remains, but for finding somewhere to recharge and determine your next steps. Simultaneously, you notice some civilian ships who have barely managed to get off the planet. They must have been damaged while leaving the planet, as they appear to be adrift now, floating amidst the debris of large buildings and giant land masses. One of the pilots finally speaks up. "Sparrow, what do we do here?" Sparrow. Okay, we got a choice. We can help the civilians escape. We can turn and fight the invaders, or we can flee to fight another day. All right, so this is, the learn to play thing. This is a new concept. We're going to, whatever choice we make is going to mark our card. I've already explained this before, but basically our choices today will impact us later. And so we can flee, and then we get the wisdom or cowardice. We can turn and fight. We get the ashes of Medalia, or help the civilians escape. I know the outcome to all three, I think. Well, no, I don't. I know there's an immediate outcome to all three, and then there's a longer term outcome. The longer term one I don't remember, but I do know the immediate one. But none of it matters. Remember, I play the paladin. So we're going to help the civilians escape. So we're going to do civilian rescue. That is naturally what I would do. I did play Ashes of Medalia with my friends, because since I let them choose. I'm basically just a reader, and they chose this one. And that was an interesting one. I actually liked that option as well. This one, of course, I never would do, but it's got a funny one. You'll see it when we continue. And in fact, these are all funny in a way. That's scenario 4. Scenario 4 was just a bunch of reading and a choice. That was it. So now we go to scenario 5, no matter which choice we make. It tells you to go to scenario 5. So here we go. And scenario 5 is the mission I have set up. So we're getting close. And here you can see they have the end of Medalia, and they're showing the big ship shooting down the beam that cracked it apart. And it says, "Now that you're going to leave, it won't be easy." Sol's voice crackles from the radio. "Stay alert, pilots. The enemy is targeting the Sparrow. We're going to need you to fight them off as we find a clean exit." Even through the frustration, his humor remains intact. "I hope you didn't have plans tonight, because we're not out of this yet." Waves fighters come in hard and fast. Behind them, you can see the giant ship that destroyed Medalia powering up again. Doubtless, they'll turn their attention to you soon, but in the meantime, you've got to focus on these fighters. This time it's Captain Soma on the comm, her words barely getting through her gritted teeth. "Cadets, stay close to the Sparrow. We can get out of this together. Whoever is responsible for this act will pay. I will not stop until that happens. She wants to stay and fight as much as you do. But it will have to be another day." Your dashboard lights up with alerts. Taking a deep breath, you head back into the fray once more. Okay, so for the first time, we're going to be fighting synthetic fighters. I still have to get their cards out, so we'll look at those in a second. You can see this is the basic setup. Here's the deal. Sparrow is going to move 2 spaces each turn. It'll push anything out of the way. It needs to get from this end of the map to that end of the map. So it's going to be roughly 10 turns to get there. You can calculate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6 turns. That doesn't sound right, but I guess, 6 turns. The Sparrow is only going to have 10 hull. It's targetable, and we lose if the Sparrow gets destroyed, of course. So we need to keep the Sparrow alive. Now, there's a new rule that it's adding. Remember how we can flip a module, like a weapon or an engine, to stop or prevent damage that occurs to us? We can flip our ship ability. So this thing, I can flip this over and no longer use this to prevent damage to the Sparrow. So it's the exact same concept, except I'm protecting the Sparrow if I do that. And It says at the end of the round, the Sparrow moves forward 2 hexes, pushes any ships from the final spot out of the way. You succeed when the Sparrow moves off the board. Enemies targeted at the end of rounds 2 and 5, adjacent to spot 1 or 2, whichever's closer to the Sparrow. New enemies will form, and those new enemies are going to be based on the number of players. So with 4 players, it's going to be 2 elite synthetic fighters. So we're going to get 2 more. And because we chose civilian rescue, every pilot is going to begin with 2 stress. So we're going to get penalized. If we would have chosen Ashes of Medalia, the first wave of enemy ships wouldn't occur until round 3 instead of round 2. And then the last one, nothing happens. So no penalty, no bonus if we would have gone with Wisdom of Cowardice. Okay, so we're all going to get 2 stress. That is what sucks. And of course, if we rest or whatever, we can get rid of that stress. I do have to grab the cards real quick, and then we can get going on this particular mission. So I got to get 2 stress to Andrew up here. All right, so these Ronin Scout cards are gone. We're not going to be shuffling those anymore. And same with we got to forget about the Frigate. And what we have instead are synthetic fighters, which are these guys. So we're going to shuffle these up pretty nicely. What do they do? They're just as frenetic as the Ronin Scouts. They're really not that different, if you ask me. I think they occasionally recharge their shields, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. It might be the upgraded version of those ships. The Scouts in the Frigate, of course, are, so just to put it in perspective, the Scout is 602. And so now we got to grab the cards. These aren't really sorted properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 synthetic fighters. All right, I got a bunch. Okay, so synthetic fighters are 6, 2, and 3, so they're slightly better. And what were the Scouts? Just to put it in perspective, 6, 0, and 2. So they're almost better in every way. And then here you can see it was 803, and then it's 643. So the elite synthetic fighter is not that much better. The elite Scouts were a lot better. So so here's the deal. There are 6 of these because there's only 6 miniatures for these. New ones will spawn, 2 of them in fact, at the end of round 2. If we have not killed any of these by the end of round 2, then nothing spawns, because you can never spawn more. It's component limited. So it's an interesting aspect to the game. If you're too good at the game and you kill them quickly, then they're just going to respawn, and they respawn as elites. And we actually we're going to have this situation right now. We have 3 elites and 3 regulars. So if we can figure out how not to kill all of them, then whenever they get to that respawn round, there's 2 of them, by the way, 2 respawn rounds, then we don't have to worry about new ones coming in. It's really hard to do, folks, because you really do want to kill these things, because every single one of them, look at that guy is going to do 7 damage on you, because if we play the super hard mode, right, they're immune to target lock, so we just got all these abilities that do target lock, and guess who is immune to it? They're also immune to radar jam. But the regular ones are immune to nothing. So we can target lock those, and we got to take advantage of it. Because we're doing a 4-player, the new ones that spawn in are going to be elites. So that's it. There's not much more to add. The Sparrow is in this, and once again, the Sparrow doesn't attack. It doesn't do diddly. It doesn't even give us a bonus this time around. But it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right here. And it literally is just going to go straight that way. It's not going to turn. It's not going to do anything else. And then our ships are going to go like this. Ta-da. Let me make sure. Yeah, so we could put a ship here if we wanted instead. So I could empty one of those other spots and put one here if I wanted to. So that's our situation. So now I'm going to look at like, okay, so Andrew has burn and flip. This one has long shot, which shoots straight ahead. That's why I put her right in front of him. This one, yeah, burn and flip. Which one has flank? Josh has flank, and Starla has flank. So 1, 2, 3, yeah. Okay, I may want to put Starla here. The long shot does work though, but the targeted bolt does not, because targeted bolt only goes up 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. And I would have to move up 1 more space to be able to pull this off. And I don't have a move that lets me just move forward 1 space. I have a move that lets me do this, but then long shot doesn't work. So that's where it's tempting to start here, but I'm not sure that works. If I have Starla start here, she can do what's called a flank. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, like that. And then she can do a rotate, 1, 2, and then shoot. But that also means that she's not doing the targeted bolt or the other stuff. So, all right, I'll think about this some more. I may have to end the video. That took me a long time to get through all this. Oh my gosh, that was 52 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to end the video. So I may have to end it for the night. I'm actually rather tired. But definitely looking forward. See, getting through the prologue is, it's a little frustrating, but by the end of the prologue, we're going to have engine upgrades, 2 engine upgrades, 2 weapon upgrades. We're going to have a tech in both slots or a co-pilot, which is another concept. We're going to have everything filled in, and then we'll actually have real updates to our deck. We're going to have, by the time you get through the prologue, things get better, is what I'm trying to get at. I actually, I know I've said it every time, but I am nervous again that this level of difficulty, we did get extra weapons. So now basically we have 3 times we can absorb hits, right? We can damage the engine, and now we got 2 weapons that we can take hits on before we go unconscious. So we basically were given an extra hit point. So that part's good. Everything else, though, these guys are just a lot tougher. And I'm also realizing I don't have their cubes set up or anything. So we got to do that. So this is a perfect time. Let's end the video. It's late at night. So adieu. Thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome. And we'll get some more combat. We are going to do space exploration and land on a planet soon. In fact, that's what ends the prologue, is once we do that. We do everything once in the prologue. So we're going to be doing some space exploration as soon as this gets off the other end of the board. And then we will be landing on an actual planet, and we'll be doing non-space battle stuff. So, all right, thanks for watching. Stay awesome.